This is Meet the Owner, where business stories come to life with your host, Dryden-Hall. Let's go, people.
Welcome to Boom 7, Meet the Owner. Very excited about this one. It's a food podcast. I've got DJ from Nacho'd.
It is.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, pronounced correct.
I didn't want to say it wrong.
No. Yeah, at least you didn't say Nacho'd, which is
Nacho'd.
Yeah, that winds me right up.
But does it? I wouldn't know how to wind you up.
Because there's an apostrophe. It's Nacho'd, but yeah.
There is.
But yeah, no, it's Nacho'd.
Thanks for coming on today. There's a few layers to you, actually, and I just found out some more bits. So.
I was going to say, you said food, and there's quite a few other things that yeah, but food's a new one. But
I love it. Let's tell everyone about Nacho'd. So we're at Horizon Radio in Midsummer Place. We love to give them a shout. Mm-hmm. Where's Nacho'd?
In Midsummer Place.
No way.
Yeah, right in the heart of Midsummer Place, just outside Zara and Waterstones, so right in the big food court there.
What I love is you didn't mention the food places. That's good. You mentioned the fashion.
Hey, listen, I've got a love for them all. So yeah, we've got Jerk of Rum, Lebanese grills. We've got
Oh, you're giving them the shout.
Of course. Yeah, there's no competition. It's not a competitive like that. It's
a great place to eat, hang out.
Yeah, and that's what we want to make it. Is it's a matter of everyone coming and enjoying the time, whether they go for Lebanese nachos or a Greek. So it's we've got something for everyone, and that's what it's about really, is kind of everyone enjoying the space.
So where I want to start really is with Nacho'd. I heard, well, you told me a few weeks ago actually, you had another name for it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me what that was?
Yeah, so originally when I first come up with the idea, it was Naughty Nachos.
No way. Right, in the background, and my little, what do we call him, producer, Chris, I, with a friend, started a street food business called Naughty Nachos. And I said, I've started this thing. And you were like...
And you were very honest, weren't you? You were like,
100%.
Most people will come up and try and just find out what you're doing and how you're doing it and not say, but you were very honest and I like that. You were like, I'm doing it as well, and I'm like, great.
On a street food model, which is completely different to what you guys are doing.
Even if it's the same model, it doesn't matter. For me, it's at the end of the day, we're both bringing awareness to a food item. That
I couldn't believe you had the name. And I was like, no, you have a whatever, and you got your phone out, and you showed me, and I'm like, that's really strange and mad, because actually, if I'd seen that, I wouldn't have probably even done it, or that wasn't the name. So why have you started a nacho business? Because it's quite an interesting conversation.
So I haven't, even though the name is very prominent, Nachos, I don't see it as I've started a nacho business. I see that I've basically elevated a traditional nacho. So our nachos are completely different to yours. You're still going down the traditional route, which probably is the smart thing to do, because that's what everyone knows them as, and that's if they say nachos on it, great, that's what you're expecting. But we've done it a very untraditional route and elevated them, because really, when you think about it, all it is a crispy version of a pizza. So we haven't just stuck to margarita or pepperoni on a pizza. It's evolved over years, and now you can get all sorts, from tuna and anchovies on pizza. So it's the same with nachos really, but just a crunchy version. I was like, why are we just limiting ourselves to guacamole, salsa, and that's about it, and maybe a bit of chili con carne if you're lucky. But
why? When did the first thinking? So we're talking blank canvas. You're obviously. I'm either in the toilet or I'm in the shower.
Yeah.
Generally, the two places that they come up. Or in bed, maybe.
Yeah.
But when did you come up with the idea to do something like that?
So I'd say most of my thinking is either when I'm driving or actually when I'm cutting hair, which is another conversation which I'm going to have a little bit later. But you are a hairdresser. It's quite. That's that.
You are a hairdresser.
I barber here and there. Yeah. So when I'm actually cutting hair, I find it very therapeutic. I'll be like kind of doing something, but I guess my attention, really, wrongly or rightly, won't be on the actual customer.
So what you're saying is you're not even listening to the guy. You've got to learn.
I'm the best, because I get to switch off. You can't. How many times do you talk about holidays and the weather? So I'm probably known as a grumpy barber, but you
look focused.
But
what you're doing, you're planning a nacho.
I multitask. Yes. I can talk, I can listen, but also I'm thinking things. But
no, I don't.
I think
that's not true. You can't. You're you're male. You can't multitask.
I can, because I'm talking to you now, but I'm actually thinking, how many orders has he had over there? Like, how many orders has he done? I'm guessing, should I change the menu? Or,
what the listeners don't know is directly where DJ is sitting is his business. So you can actually see if people are buying product, if the staff are picking their nose, which I'm sure they're not. But you can actually see his business. I don't think he's listening to me. This is great.
No. What did you say?
Yeah, innit? So you're cutting hair when this come up?
I don't recall the exact moment it came up, but I recall like a period of time where I was become fixated with the idea. I think it began with, me probably in a bit of a space of desire, creativity.
Okay.
I think, again, we'll come on to it, but the hair salons that I have, I had a big spark for a period of time, and then there's a phase where after a certain amount of years, it's like, all right, I need something new now, and I got to that point.
Is that your novelty as opposed to the customer that gets their haircuts novelty? Because I think once you've done something and you're like, oh my god, we could do this, get these things. I don't want to talk about it yet, but you have that buzz. How can we grow it?
Yeah, it's my novelty. Talking. Yeah, it's my novelty. If something doesn't, when I get into, I become fixated and like literally just I work on something non-stop, and I have to. That's the way I have to work. If I had periods in between of breaks and things, that's where I start to fall off. So, I work. I grow an addiction to what I want to do. For a short period of time. Like whether it be a year or so. But then
you go heavy.
I'll go heavy, and then something happens, or
so
the creativity element of it's gone, and there's no need for me to become that addicted.
Pen and paper. How do you make your notes? So I can imagine you're a bit iPhone.
Yeah, probably sometimes in my notepad, but that's about it. Like I'm not really a note taker. In fact, I'm not a note taker at all. I never was in school. Never ever was that kid.
Did you start doing research and locking it in your head then?
Kind of, yeah. One thing I should never do is write a book on how to do business, because no one will buy it.
That's
and if
why
they
you're
did,
here. If people get the gems out.
And if people did, then they probably wouldn't be in business. I do things probably completely unorthodox and what some people say the wrong way. But
let's talk about it then. So right, you want to start a food business that involves nachos.
Which I probably do spaghetti bolognese, and that's at a push.
So you're not a cook?
No, not at all. Not at all. So that's so it scared me for a while, and it probably put me off the industry, going into the industry from the beginning. But then when I started to digest it and actually assess, okay, all right,
digest it, little pun there.
Yeah, there you go. So when I actually started to digest it and really look into the concept and how we could elevate it, do it better, but with probably, should we say, slightly low skill set, because I am of that low skill set.
So you're in the mind of, can an individual copy something to deliver for the customer? That was imperative, right?
Yeah. So exactly that. So, but could I, who's not in, like say, a foodie at all. I love eating food, but I'm not a foodie at all in terms of cooking it and making it, and also the processes, the operations behind it, that sort of thing. So I was like, can I put together, or if I'm kind of told how to do it, can I then replicate that?
But was it nachos straight away?
Yeah.
You were like, I'm going to bring out a nacho brand.
I'm going to bring out a nacho brand because no one else is doing it.
So did you come up with a name first? Did you come up with, I know the guy outside that shop. He's an accountant in Milton Keynes, Nick. He's not looking.
Yeah,
like a little shout out to Zara. Did you come up with a name first? What was your first thing you did?
Come up with like the concept first as a term of like, I wanted to elevate the nachos, things like that. But I then straight away I'm like, I want to see the pretty stuff. I want to name it. I can't. I have to vision something. So a lot of people. In fact, one of my friends, starting up a rum punch concept, and I'm like, right, where's your logo? And he's like, I ain't got to that yet. Or where's your design? I ain't got to that yet. I'm just working on the ingredients, and I admire that. I admire the ability to do that. Work on something, continue to work on it, without actually visualizing it. Me, on the other hand, I have to visualize the pretty stuff first. I have to see the I have to. I think I I built a temporary kitchen in my garage, commercial kitchen.
I think
put
I've
fryers
seen a video of you doing some work. Was that in your garage or was
possibly?
Yeah,
in fact, that one on the screen that you can see there is actually in my garage.
That's in your garage.
That's actually I was shot in my garage.
Love that.
So I built this temporary commercial kitchen, and again, most people were like, "Oh, you spent money on this." I'm like, I have to see I have to visualize it on that like that. I'm not a pen and paper type.
So
person.
did you? How many nachos have you been eating? Because as I say with I don't want to talk about my stuff too much. Because
right.
At the end of the day, this is about your business. But my door was busy with nachos. I was ordering lots of different nachos. I wanted to try them. And the reason I did it is I went and did an exhibition for someone where they were showcasing this product that turned into nachos. And it was in the back of my head. So I was like, I love them so much. I thought, can we use these products to do so well? Did you order?
Constantly. I call up suppliers. Like, obviously some of them have minimum orders. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna be.
Right?
Exactly. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna place big orders, but I need a sample and things like that, and you have to kind of play their own game, and I constantly ordering. I remember one time I had probably like 10 cups and then obviously I bought a fryer, so I had to fry each one because that was the whole part of the concept. Let's try and kind of create it where we can elevate it, where it's not just a bag or putting it in one of them like heaters, for example. We wanted to literally fry them on site and things like that.
So you had to learn that, because I've done that. It's not easy.
I mean, it's not hard to just you can burn them quick, but when you got timers and things, and again, I guess you don't need to be a foodie to know you can put a timer on. Even if it's a stopwatch on your wrist, you can put a timer on. I know I can do that. All right, tick. That's one thing I know I can do.
So you found your base product.
Yeah,
how long did that take?
Couple of weeks of going back and forth, and to be honest with you, it probably wasn't completely finalised until literally we opened.
Really? Wow.
A couple of weeks of like, okay, that's okay, they're good, so we can use them. I'm happy with them. I think we kind of created our own seasoning and things. A big part of it actually is I invested a lot of money into the creating side of it. So because I wasn't a foodie, I went and kind of, should we say, hired some food consultants in London, to kind of help me develop the menu and things. Ironically, don't use a single thing that they help. But but they help me create, say, the seasoning. That's what we do use. That's like our own seasoning that we put on the chips after we fry them. The kind of the branding, bear in mind, I just sold my house at this point, so I put a large portion of my house money into developing this concept. So the branding, went to an agency in London.
London? Why did you go to London?
A big part of it, I could have done it a lot cheaper. I think a big part of it is I wanted to enjoy the experience. I wanted to, and I felt like I felt at the time that the concept was so strong that there's only a few things that could fail it, and that's probably like the branding and the execution and things like that. So I thought if I invest in both of those things, hopefully it won't fail.
I think there is a piece, isn't there, where if you take a product, cut it, deep fry it, put on your seasoning, put it in a cart, and I'm just going through a process here, and then you've made this cheese sauce and you've made it and you pour it and then you add your extra bits and you pass it over. If you haven't done that, there's no energy, is there? You're just almost opening something up and giving it, and then there's no sale,
exactly. I think customers over time have wanted to see the process, have wanted to, and this is what's so great about these kitchens. If you haven't been here, like, they're very open, and the way we've modelled ours is still open, but it's the messy kind of all the washing up and all that sort of stuff is kind of disguised as such. But that's the best part about how we've done it. And you kind of feel like you're experiencing, like you're walking into a Wingstop or a McDonald's.
There
are other food.
They're sponsoring the UFC. They must have some money.
Well, it's the only ones you can kind of mention when you got bright lights in front of you. But
what I did notice, and I'm not digging them out, but I am digging them out. Their light fell down last week. It's still down.
That's been down for about 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks. Sorted out Wingstop, good product and good screens and good brand.
But
your light's still broken.
Okay,
that's cool. And then Did you look at other concepts? So not just Nacho's. Did you look at other? This was just.
Yeah. I'm very, very like tunnel vision, but no, of course, like you think, but I don't like following trends. If I'm honest, the smash burger route done, like wings done, pizza's been done for many years. I think I can't. There's something about it that just blocks me from following the trend, and I think it's I do what I do, and I've always done what I've done because I'm not necessarily financially motivated. I'm motivated by the wow factor, and if I can create that wow factor, that's for me money in my pocket. You
can't chase the money. You've got to get the product right.
Of course, there's an element of the business got to work. I'm not financially free. I'm not a multimillionaire that can just afford to, throw money at things just for fun. And if I could, I definitely would, just to create that wow factor.
Yes.
And that would be my hobby. But I have to earn a living, and I think every business I do has to pay itself, of course, and hopefully me. But I think for me, like I say, opening a pizza place or a wing place, you're not going to get the wows unless I was a Michelin star chef that could create these absolutely insane wings that have never been tasted before.
Yeah, but saying that, at the end of the day, if you've got 50 customers, 100 customers, 200 customers, 500, you've got to be able to serve it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're Michelin star, flavour-wise, yes.
Yeah, of course.
It's all about operations now.
Of course, exactly.
Like, can I get the food out?
Can you get that out quick enough, but also nice enough, is also effective enough, is also warm enough, there's so many parts to it. So I kind of, and I feel like as time went on, I found that actually me not being in the industry was actually, I felt a bit my superpower. Yeah. I felt like
you don't know what you don't know.
No,
right?
I don't. And I think sometimes, they say food businesses fail a lot, or in the first year, whatever. And I think my view on that is probably because chefs probably become too emotionally invested in the freshness of things, in the ingredient, the taste too much. And I think all of that combined, can really stretch your operations and potentially fail your business. So we had to kind of weigh it up.
I sat down once and ordered a starter, and it was on my table in about 7 seconds. I was like, no.
This
can't be good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. So there's that way up, but you don't want to also wait, 25 minutes for a starter. So and like I say, I'm sure you can go to some Michelin stars where you will, because it is probably made on the spot there and then, but there obviously we're in the quick service, kind of industry, and we need to provide food quick. And like I say, for me, it was just like, okay, it's like a Subway-ish model. I was very particular at the beginning that I didn't want to have necessarily the Subway kind of layout where people just say, can I have that on it? Can I have that on it?
It gets messy, doesn't it?
Well, not only does it get messy, I think for me, because we were trying to elevate the traditional nacho, you've got to kind of take that option away, like in a way. You've got to kind of take the guacamole, the salsa, all of that away. And we kind of at the beginning refused to do it. Like,
just going on your menu, do you have that on your menu?
We do now.
Oh, you do.
As of the last week.
No way. So that's news.
Yeah. So I was listening to another podcast, ironically, and I think it was of Humble Crumble. Don't know if you heard of them. They're a crumble kind of based business, and I think when she first opened, she didn't have apple crumble on her menu. She just kind of had what she wanted on there, pumpkin spice crumble.
So honestly, DJ, did you create something that maybe you wanted, not what the consumer needed and wanted?
I created something I wanted, and I created something that I felt that the consumer should have. And it's
funny, isn't it?
But luckily it's only taken me 6-7 weeks to establish that. It's not like I've gone years and I've realized that. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I was like, it was just a light bulb moment again, probably whilst I was driving, just like, what, I've not actually put on the menu what the customer wants. But and that's because I've had no one to challenge me on that. Everyone that I have the opportunity to talk to gets it, because they've spoke to me for 5-10 minutes, and they okay, I get what you mean. Right? I can't do that with thousands of people walking past every day.
So how important in business is flexibility? Because
I've learned hugely in the last couple of months having this business that if you would ask me that before this business, I'd be like, yeah, it's important, but not, but
you're like, when you make that cheese sauce,
yeah,
you're now in there talking to the people
yeah.
that are going to buy it, and if you don't listen to them,
yeah, exactly,
then soon it doesn't work, doesn't it?
Exactly.
I see it getting built. I knew you were coming like weeks and weeks before. I was like really curious. I'm like, oh my god, I love nachos.
Yeah.
So now you've got your logo in place at that point, and you had your product.
When it was built, or
just that sort of moment when you I had an idea, I got really stuck into it. I got all the products. You're getting them delivered.
Yeah.
Where did you look? And are you from Milton Keynes?
I'm from Bedford.
Okay,
but
so where were you looking to get
Milton
sites?
Keynes was always my number one, because I've started my first business in Milton Keynes, which is still going now 10 years later. I didn't think this was a big high street concept. I thought it needs to be a city centre-ish concept. I saw it kind of, being honest, I saw it more in like the entertainment hub type side, i.e., the escape building, things like that. So that's where I was kind of.
So did you have chats?
Oh yeah. I actually, I'll tell you a quick story, but I actually kind of pitched, you could call it, to the owner of the escape, like the landlords that own the escape, and the way I managed that is, I think there was a unit that I've somehow. And bear in mind, these big units, they're not just, they haven't got a board outside saying to let call this. They're all done by big CBRE, Savills, all that. So the people that own that company called not Crown Estates, who is it? I can't remember off the top of my head now, but it's basically a big Savills company, but they're the biggest commercial landlord in the UK. I managed to get hold of the agent, who's from CBRE, and I kind of managed to say to him that I want this unit, I've got this concept, and bear in mind I'd invested in the branding, so I had a very good landlord pack. So he saw the landlord pack, and he was very impressed by the landlord pack, the concept, thought it was great. There's a unit there, still there now, a real small unit in the escape, right next to where Taco Bell is now.
Oh yeah, I know where you're talking.
It's like it had a shutter down. It used to be a little tapasy bar, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's been on my radar for years, so I wanted that. Originally, I wanted a much bigger concept.
So a sit down.
Yeah, sit down, talk about, not had sold a single tray of nachos and wanting to go and invest and go full on in an escape. So it was quite a bold move from me, but in hindsight, probably the best thing that didn't happen. But I don't know, arguably, I think still that's probably a very good location for the concept. A
lot more rent than...
Yeah, because you're talking size-wise, it's obviously, so it was a bit... Probably not. When you put size into a factor, actually probably cheap per square footage, cheaper. But anyway, sorry. So I remember speaking to the agent, and he spoke to the actual landlord himself, the actual person at the head of the board of who's in charge. Liked the concept, but obviously we haven't traded at this point. So I had to kind of blag that I was doing a tasting event in London again. Would you like to come? And
did you have a tasting event?
No, I didn't have a tasting event.
So you've fabricated something. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, because he wanted to set up a Zoom call and things like that, and I wanted to do something a bit more, because we haven't actually got a site. I wanted to do something a bit more like kind of creative.
Impressive, of course.
So I kind of fabricated that we're going to do a tasting session, but we haven't fixed a date, but we're looking next month. Have you got any dates? Have you consider? It's like, okay, well, he's gone back and forth, and he said, well, you can make this date, and I'm like, right, great. So now we'll find a location to do it. But I knew I could probably waggle a few places, having known a few people, but the branding agency I used to brand the concept have a really, really cool space in Shoreditch.
So had you already had that sorted, right? Yeah.
I had a quick call with him. I said, look, John, I've used you for a year, and I spent a lot of money with you to brand the concept.
Hang on, did you tell him that you spent a lot of money, or did you incline? Hang on.
No, so John's sorry, I'm talking about the branding agency. So I spoke to the branding agency that have their office in Shoreditch. Okay, fine. And it's got a terrace. It's really cool, like space. But it's got a kitchen. Is the main thing.
So you needed this guy to turn up, really?
Otherwise it's going to waste time. Money. Waste time. Okay. And so anyway, I got all parties kind of agree a date, and I can't remember the date. It was about this time last year, actually.
About a year ago. Okay.
So I kind of obviously I did like proper invites, got them made up. But obviously I'm getting to a point now. I'm like, okay, right. Now I've actually got to put this together somehow. So it was actually an event that I had to effectively put on. Yeah. I thought packaging. I can't, serve this in a brown bag or a brown box to the landlord who lets units out to the likes of Wingstop, McDonald's, Five Guys. So I have to look professional. So I had to somehow find a packaging company that would do printing for only.
This isn't even for the site you're in now. No, this is for another place.
This is for me to try and get another place. Okay. Yeah. So I thought, right, I haven't got packaging, so I was trying to find a company that all of them are minimum orders. 2,000, 3,000. I'm like, I can't have that sitting in my garage, and I haven't even got a site. So I managed to find that Vistaprint do 100, but don't get me wrong, cost me 250 quid to get 100 boxes.
The unit price, shocking.
But I thought, I've got to do it. I've got to invest in it so as we look professional and that sort of thing. So anyway, done all of this, obviously got the food, we took the fries up.
Who else was on your guest list?
So I had the one landlord, the agent from CBRE, who obviously deals with sites all around the country. Yeah. And then basically the agency that I used are a big agency, and they have like 20, 30 employees. So I said, that's a part of the negotiation. I said, what we'll do is we'll do you guys lunch, and we'll do you nachos. And obviously, to be fair to them, they wanted to see the concept because they had designed it, but they've never seen it or tasted it.
So what you're saying is you filled the room up with pretty much the agency.
I've actually got video of I actually got a videographer as well to come. I've got.
So did you? How much money are you in here? Because I feel like you spent a lot of money.
This event probably cost me in the region of 800 to 1,000.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what I thought. I put that money in knowing that. Sorry, I was going to show you the video. I don't know if you can kind of point at the screen, but I put that money in because I thought this is my chance to get this unit that I've been desiring for the last year, and I still today think that
you still want it.
I still feel like it would be the best location because I felt like, right, Nacho's, it's sharing, it's sociable. People more think evening time, entertainment.
Bit of leisure,
Look at all the entertainment over there. You've got, I'm not putting, Midsummer Place is still great, but the Escape is really good for entertainment.
What's really quite interesting is Andre Lusman, who owns Lusman's Restaurants, he's now on his 7th restaurant. He's been on the show.
Yeah.
And he wanted a site in Bedford. It was where Lock Fine is, or was. Yeah. And the Duke of Bedfordshire, and they all did this meeting, and he didn't get in because he didn't have a restaurant.
Yeah,
he didn't have
exactly
a concept,
that,
and it wasn't proven. Yeah, and he's now on his 7th restaurant and turning over millions of pounds. Well,
this is the thing. Yeah,
but it's come back round, and he's now there.
Yeah, exactly that. So that's my kind of thought process and the whole thing, and that was what I wanted. But that was exactly the battle I was coming across. You haven't got a site yet, you haven't proven the concept, and if you haven't noticed, I don't doing things in halves. I kind of go all in or not. But
and the materials you use are amazing.
I'm just trying to show you this quick video actually of the day.
So how we can look at that in a moment, but how did it go?
Okay,
we're going to link it in.
Yeah, we will do that. Yeah.
So so he turned up.
Yeah.
You've got this party. Did you bring some friends?
So anyway, I had friends that were kind of cooking for me as well, and doing all that side of things. I wanted to be there to be able to
front of house,
talk to everyone, and that was it. So it started with obviously us setting up, and the whole agency kind of being there, dipping in and out, and then obviously we had quite a crowd, and then the agent showed up, and then
is that all you care about?
Yeah,
the agent.
But it's not. Running up to it, yes, but on the day, no. For me, this was a big day for me because I've actually to this point never seen it out as a concept. You know, I've never seen it in a box. Like obviously, I've been doing it at home, that sort of thing. But
so it was like a little launch.
But yeah, it was a bit of a pre-launch without a business. Yeah. Like, you know, it was a bit of a, you know. So for me, it was worth every penny because it was a motivator. I kind of come out of that like, I've actually got something here.
Yeah, it feels real.
Yeah, it feels real now. You know, we again, you know, because we haven't dived too much in the concept, but you know, we kind of make nachos the main, and then we have like sides on top of that. So we had like kind of, you know, funky corn ribs. We had like mac and cheese bites, stuff like that. So and onion, like cheesy onion rings. You know, when you look at it all together, that's the first time I've ever seen it all together. You know, it looked great, and I'm like, actually, there's a concept here, and you know, and I've got something here. But like I say, I always knew I did, but it was. Again, I'm a visual person. I see things like from a.
So then, what happened? Because obviously, we know you're not in Escape, and so that.
So anyway, so the outcome was, little did I know that they were signing up Taco Bell for the unit next to it.
Yeah,
and they felt the concept was too close and too similar. So yeah, it was a bit of a you know, bit of a kick in the teeth, but it kind of. You know, like I said, I didn't regret the event because I think it, for me...
You always learn something, don't you?
Yeah. I learned a huge amount from doing that. And like I say, it was an event I just threw together in, I think it was about 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. And
so you moved quickly then. So what happened from there? Did you start looking around again? Were you already talking to other places?
Yeah, so I think I always knew about these units in this area, in Midsummer Place. And I was never in a rush for them because I thought, I need to weigh out to see if they work. Like, and
because it only just changed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Itself,
So and also, I always had in my head dine in, sit down, served on trays, that sort of thing. And you know, with this is a completely different concept. It's takeaway, you know. But what I quite liked about them was you can have a bit of both. Like, you know, it's kind of takeaway, but you can sit outside.
Pick the benches.
You can sit on the benches. You know, I can also model it inside to still keep the brand essence of it and still experience a brand.
How did you learn about how to fit it out? Because I don't know how to do that, and I wouldn't really know where to start. So where do you start when you go, right, okay, we know there's a unit. So who do you hire in? How does that
that was all me again. I could show you. I'd done a picture on Canva and modelled it, you know, exactly how I wanted the builders to basically build it. And I got like some local plumbers that could do like carpentry and that. They were not proper shop fitters, but yeah, they did all the work for me, but yeah, they followed it. And to be fair, if I showed you the model now, it's exactly how it was on my picture.
And did you draw that out? Because I was just saying to someone this morning, which is why I was late. I didn't think I was late, but I was late. I was chatting to the guy in one of the coffee shops, but the founder Ray Kroc, where he, you know, the brothers, they literally plan out McDonald's floor plan.
Yeah, I did exactly that. I had masking tape on the floor.
Had you seen that film already? Because you said you've seen it.
Yeah, I'd seen it, and I think that definitely kind of probably inspired me to do that. I probably would have. And to be fair, I'd done it many times before when it comes to salons and things. I'd like laid out like kind of on tape maybe, or like painting the floor or whatever.
So let's go to salons. So we were chatting, I met you, Chris from Horizon Radio introduced me to you, and I was like, I've got to try this guy's nachos, obviously. Yeah. Find out. And you was like, I own some hairdressers, la la la. And where do you own, and what's the name of it?
Shortcuts.
And what's so special about Shortcuts?
So we specialise in kids' hair, like basically. We could call it the biggest like kind of kids' hair brand, kind of hairdressers, whatever you call us. But yeah, we're the biggest kind of shorts.
But what makes it special? Because when your kid turns up, where do they sit?
We've got funky cars, we've got PlayStations for the older ones, and it's basically a fun open space for the kids. So
it's probably before I met you, about 3 weeks before, I'd gone and taken my little boy Hugo. I
still didn't know that.
Yeah. So I went to go and take it because I'd heard about it. Because is it Oxley Park? So
near there, Grange Farm.
Yeah. So because we live over the other side of MK, we never quite got over there.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And I was like, no way! What, you're the owner of that place?
Yeah. It's odd. Yeah, I know I don't look like the general kind of.
So are you a hairdresser? Are you a barber or not?
So I mean, all right, so we'll go back a bit.
We're going to go back.
Yeah, so I played basketball for many years in America, things like that. come back from America, kind of.
What level are we talking about?
College basketball.
Yeah.
So I was a college basketball player, and obviously after that is then professional. But I had my son very early on in life. Kind of come back to England. Could have continued the basketball route with the UK scene, things like that. But I found myself in banking. So I went into banking. Worked from obviously doing general kind of banking products to financial advice, that sort of thing, and then I was in banking for about 8-9 years, and then just come up with this idea of kids hair salons. Like,
Do you remember coming up with it?
Yeah, kind of, very vividly. I think I was doing I could always do hair. Like, I think I made like $5 a haircut in America, like, because like when I was at college, I think it was my way of earning a little bit of money.
Was it?
Yeah, I'd like do like $5 haircuts, but when I mean haircuts, I'm talking literally like one all over,
just take
maybe
the hair
like
off
and there's all afro hair. So
right,
so I was never like, I never had a pair of scissors in my life to cut hair ever.
Okay.
So I did a bit of kind of, you could call cutting, but not really hair cutting at all.
So a little bit
of
beer
barbering.
money.
Literally.
Yeah.
And then so when I obviously had kids, they need their haircut. So like most parents do, they at least try it. And I'm one of these people, like I said, I'll give anything a try. YouTube's great, gets a few little tips off there, and started cutting their hair. I'll probably have to look back on pictures and think actually that they weren't that great, but it was just a norm for me to do their hair.
So you're in banking. Are you bored?
I think I'm always bored at one point. Yeah, I think I'm always like kind of thinking the next thing. But no, I was in banking. To be fair, I was progressing quite well. But my dad, he was entrepreneur, and he did a lot of business and still does, and I think
interesting. So give me some things that he started that
he started many years ago selling timeshare. So as
he was
probably
salesy.
dodgy as that was, like when you look back at it, but he was selling timeshare many years ago. Very salesy. Come back, I think he opened a nightclub.
Where was the nightclub?
In Leighton Buzzard. He had many years ago, called O'Neill's. I probably shouldn't mention that because, but he had a nightclub.
Are they chasing him? Are they?
Then he went and opened like a pub hotel type concept in Heath and Reach.
Okay.
So he's done a few different things. And now,
would you say that's helped you? So you've seen that from afar.
I think seeing that from afar, seeing that from like kind of again. Did I see a lot of the money? No, in a way, because my dad was very flashy. He had, flashy cars, but I don't think he was very well off. I think he just liked a flashy car.
Okay.
But did I see that from did I see that financially and think, oh my God, he's got an amazing car, I want to be like my dad? No. What I did see was the flexibility he had and the ability to pick us up from school, take me basketball, that sort of thing. And I think that was what inspired me more than, like I say, the flashy kind of cars and things. I weren't like, oh my gosh, I need to have this car when I'm older, so I need to work harder. That wasn't what motivated me. I think it was more, like I say, him just being about, even though he was separated from my mum, he was still able to come pick us up, take me basketball, and
but you didn't, when you're doing banking, you didn't have the flexibility back then, I'm assuming.
No.
You were like proper, you're in.
Yeah,
early.
You're told kind of, when your lunch shift is and that sort of thing.
How are you like that? Because you did it quite a while.
I did it, I'm surprised that I did it quite a while, but I did it quite a while because I kept progressing in the bank. So that's the only reason. I think I didn't stay in the same job for many years. I did various different jobs in the bank.
Do you think being in America, you see lots of food concepts that you thought, what?
No, honestly, really? if you had said to me back then you'll end up in the hair or food industry, I'd have laughed at you. There's no chance. But I just knew I wanted to do something.
Where do you? So these little cars, they're like sports cars for anyone who hasn't seen it. Like little sports cars. You sit in there. Yeah. There's little screens on the wall. I didn't know about PlayStation. Is that in the back room?
No, same side, but they're a bit more hidden. But there's PlayStation.
Yeah, I didn't notice it. So where do you even get cars like that? Like that's just a random.
I can't remember.
It's 10 years ago.
10 years ago now. Yeah, but I think China had something to do with it, but you got to get this. It's mainly the mechanisms that like fit it, really. Okay. But I think China definitely has. I remember importing before again opening a salon. ordering the cars, and I remember having my living room at one point looking like a car garage, like, you know, having 3 or 4.
Did you love that?
Like,
was that cool? Or was that?
I mean,
it just served the purpose.
Yeah. Again, it's the same with nachos. It's like having loads of nachos delivered to your door when you haven't even got a site. Like, it's the same with that. I didn't have a site, but I knew I wanted to do it. I think I might have had a site coming up. Can't remember, but you know, bearing in mind, I physically could not cut hair the day we opened, like the salon. You know, I
Got too nervous?
No, I didn't have. I couldn't cut hair. If you asked me to cut your hair, there's not a chance. Yeah, the day I opened my first salon, I couldn't cut hair, but I just had the confidence in employing people. And,
so where do you start there? So you've got this salon. Do you got to sort of go and poach someone? Have you? Like, do you send out an interview? Like, how did that? How did you even do that?
Just advertise and then interview.
Yeah. Would that have been in the Citizen back then? Like, that's 10 years ago. Like, is that a thing, or would it have been online?
It was Indeed, or can't remember. It was Facebook. Like, okay. Yeah, I think Indeed was around like 10 years ago. But
and did you look for your leader? Because obviously you don't know how to cut hair.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I'm honest with you, I didn't look for anything other than that someone cut hair. I thought, you know, I might be the leader. This is what I mean by winging it. I completely winged it. Yeah. But fortunately, it worked out for me. You know, I remember my first hairdressers, she was great. Like, you know, she's really, really good, full-timer, you know, great with kids. Yeah. And I lucked out because I've had some really bad staff in the time as well.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that.
You know, are good at cutting hair, but probably not so nice a person, or vice versa. Lovely people, but can't cut hair that great. So
how do you gauge that? I mean, you can only go by experience, but if you interviewed me today, you'd be blown away. Because I'm going to tell you if you want to hear.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, I can cut hair.
Yeah.
I cut Chrissy's hair just yesterday as well.
Yeah.
I love people, and then you start the job.
Yeah.
And I might not be nice.
Yeah.
How soon does that happen?
Quite soon, I would have thought. Like, you know, firstly, we have it's standard in the hair industry to kind of have a trial period, or trial. What do you call it? A trial. There's a word for it.
Probation or
no, everyone has probation, but it's basically like you come in and do a couple of haircuts.
Yeah, okay.
It's basically a hair test kind of thing.
Yeah.
Can't remember the exact phrase for it, but everyone in the hair industry is, you know, kind of used to it. Like, you know, you go to work for Tony and Guy, and that you come in, do a couple of cuts, and they'll just check you out. So that's to check that someone can actually cut hair. And then obviously you've got the personality side of it. So, but the biggest thing is, the good thing is we're very transparent when we advertise. So it's like, you know, kids hairdresser, blah blah, and you know, obviously when we speak to people on the phone, it's for a children's hair salon. So you're only going to get a certain amount of people that are going to apply for that anyway, and a certain type of person.
Because they say, don't they? I think in film or stage, don't work with children, don't work with pets.
Yeah, of course.
Animals.
Yeah, exactly.
Can it be hard work?
It's hard. When you first start a course, it's quite different. But actually, we've had people. I mean, most of my staff have worked for me now for 7-8 years plus.
That's good.
And that's because when you do it, and when you do get used to it, it's actually easier than cutting adults' hair. Yeah. You know, it's a barbershop type model where it's fast paced, like it's a bit crazy at times.
Our haircut was rapid.
And it is fast paced, but parents don't want to sit in a loud kids salon all the time. They don't want to sit in a men's barbershop or women's hairdressers waiting for half an hour, 40 minutes. So you know, it's and we're appointment based, so you book an appointment. Like, you know, and we have to be quick. It's not because we want to be or we need to be financially. Patience. You have to be quick because kids only have a certain time span. Even if they're happy and smiley at one point, if you're going to take 20-30 minutes to cut a kid's hair, you're not going to do well.
How often are you in that business?
Not as often now. That's because obviously Nacho'd, and it takes a lot of my time up. But yeah, I'd say a couple of times I'm still on the phone to them and things like that, but actually physically there, especially cutting, not often at all. No, I haven't this year.
Then you franchised it, right?
Yeah, so I've got 5, and 2 of them are franchised.
You don't mess about, do you? So how did you learn about franchising and the model and what you need to do? Like,
it was always on the agenda as franchising, but the problem I guess I have is, and it's still to this day, is I'm a creative, so I set something up. I love that part. When it comes to the operations, I'll yawn and I'm like, bore off, you know.
You sound like me.
So it's like it's. Does
that sound like me? Yeah.
So
bore off.
if I had done that, you know, and I actually have a staff member that, a kind of job title was the boring. Like we joke, we like that's boring. That's your role, and I think we joke about it, but that genuinely, because it's got no creativity element in it, I fall asleep.
It's quite interesting though, because you're giving responsibility to someone else. So have you always? I mean, you won't, because you're in banking, in sport, maybe different. But was there a point back in the day where you were like, oh no, I have to do everything. I have to do that. I have to do that. I have to do that. I have to be controlled. Can't let go. Or have you always been like, well, I know I'm not good at it, I'm just going to give you it? Because I think we change.
Yeah.
Oh, what if they steal your money? What if Chris brings child and they start stealing money? Like, has that changed over years, or have you always been set?
I'd probably say, like obviously the ability to like allocate like jobs and roles and things has definitely changed over years, but I probably I've never been too controlling over certain things. I'm controlling over the finer detail of it and it looking proper and looking right and coming across right.
Very visual idea.
But but I'm not too pedantic over the little nitty gritty stuff that doesn't like kind of affect a customer or staff. Does that make sense?
Yes. So are you into? Do you read? Do you listen to podcasts? Where do you get all of this? So you're obviously very creative. You like new stuff, but in terms of learning new skills, do you do you do any of that?
I'll probably say, if anything, I listen to a podcast once in a while, but definitely don't read. I'm more of a listener. But even then, I do struggle to kind of. I would definitely question. I've never been diagnosed, but I'd definitely question if I've got a form of ADHD.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
The more conversations I have,
we
just there's a big chart and we're all on it.
Yeah, of some form.
We just don't know where we are.
Yeah, exactly. So my where I am is definitely towards my attention span and being able to do a task. I'm terrible at it. So. And I can't remember the question.
So there you go. You've got 6 businesses, right? 6? Is that
not 6 businesses?
Well,
but
you've
6.
Got 3 plus 2.
Yeah, I've got salons as a business. I class that as one business, and
yeah.
that's a business. But I've got salons. But I class, I guess, them as two different businesses.
So podcasts. You're not listening to podcasts to get new ideas about new stuff.
No, sometimes I do. Like I said, it's not. Probably one a month, if that. Okay. But and I try and find some that probably are relative to me. Otherwise, I do switch off. Even though there's probably a message from each podcast you can probably take.
Always.
But I tend to, if I'm doing a food business, I tend to try and stick to the food ones. And all I try and do from that is take inspiration from it, not like kind of necessarily learn or anything like that. But I just try and. Because when you're a solo founder, when you do stuff on your own, it's a very lonely journey. So you kind of try and relate from every angle you can. So if you can just hear someone on a podcast talk about, when I was doing this, I felt so low and I didn't know whether it was right or whether it was wrong. I questioned myself so many times. Hearing that for me is like kind of, because I haven't got that person to pick up the phone to and be like, oh mate, I had a long day today, and the thing, oh yeah, no, I don't want, I'll take over tomorrow. I haven't got that. So or that person to say, oh, come on, we can do this, so it's I listen to and I have to listen to the podcast for purely the motivation and the inspiration from it. So that's probably why I do that.
What are you like with doing the books, profit,
Terrible.
Tax?
Terrible.
I knew. Do you know what? I knew the answer.
Yeah, and I don't even. I don't want to know. Like I pay someone to do that, and that's the accountant.
Yeah.
So I've got no idea.
How often can you paint a picture? So today, do you know where the 5? It's 2 businesses, but do you know where they're all sitting today, or do you wait 2 weeks? Is the end of every month? What's the process?
If the bank account is growing, then I know it's working. If it's going down, I know it's not.
That's incredible.
Literally. I'm not. Again, if I was to write a book, like it may sell, but people will fail. The wrong way. Because. And again, you'd be on someone like Dragon's Den or whatever and get criticised to hell about it. You don't know numbers, blah, blah. But I only have a certain amount of time in a day. I'm a solo founder. I have, stock takes to worry about. Again, when I systemize it, all right, which I have surprisingly surprised myself in probably, sticking to the boring stuff a lot longer than I originally would, because again, I would be more interested in the branding, the pretty stuff. But like I said, I did quite a large chunk of that at the beginning. But when I systemize things, obviously I will free up a lot more time of my time, which will then allow me to look at numbers and this and that and this and that. But right now I've got a concept that's live, and I've got to make changes to adapt, and I haven't got time to sit and look at a spreadsheet.
No,
I've only got a certain amount of hours in the day, and I've got to prioritize what I need to prioritize. And ultimately, what's a spreadsheet going to do for me? Just going to create more stress? I don't need that.
So all my logical friends
would say this guy's
honestly,
ridiculous.
No, we're very similar, right? They're
Yeah.
like, well, what do you mean it'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll just get it done. We'll
Yeah,
be flexible. You don't have to do it. Well, I know someone that could do it.
Yeah.
We can make it happen. What's the future? You've obviously got your hair salons. Mm-hmm. You own a Nacho business.
Yeah. So, funny enough, I was literally just I've got a meeting on Friday, and I've had a Zoom call with this lady the other day about going to the kids' shoe industry. So
DJ, love it.
I know.
You don't know anything about shoes.
I've got no idea. No, but.
Well, you might have.
But I don't.
Oh my god!
But and don't get me wrong, Nacho'd is by far ready. Not ready, should I say? It's still got a lot of work. So I'm balancing my time wisely. But I've still got a lot of work in Nacho'd to do to make it work, because if I'm cards on table, it's not working at the moment as it stands from a financial standpoint, but it is from a feedback and a progressive, and things were changing. I think you even mentioned portion size. We've upped that, and that's that. Since then, we've not had a single person mention portion. So we're getting there with the actual kind of the product.
Yes.
And again, bear in mind, I didn't start in how most people would start or should start. I didn't start in what do you call it, in a van or a trailer or anything like that. I
don't even know.
And I would have been I would have been able to develop the product over time to make it so when we go in here, we know exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, what portion size, what our cheese sauce is.
What I love is you've got the balls to even.
I didn't actually know the menu. In fact, I didn't actually know the menu until about two days before we opened.
No, 2 days.
Yeah. I got so stressed that I had to get a mate who's in the cooking industry to come and help me. He helped me, and I was like, okay, that seems easy.
That's mad, isn't it?
About 2 days before. I had no idea.
And just to talk about marketing before you talk about the shoes.
Yeah.
So how do you market the business? What's the things you've been doing?
That's been probably my biggest weakness and undersight since opening. And kind of after having a bit of discussion yesterday, I think that's the area that I'm going to look into from now. And that's the area I'm probably the most poorest at. Even for the salons, I spent probably about £200 over the last 10 years on marketing for shortcuts in 10 years.
So that's word of mouth.
That fortunately is a need, and it's grown organically. This is not a need. This is a different kind of concept. So I've kind of come into this a bit like, it's different, so people will come. It's not that easy. So I've got to put a lot more into marketing as we speak, and hopefully, grow it.
Amazing. So talk to me about shoes, because I just feel banking, basketball, haircuts,
food,
nachos,
shoes. Yeah.
What else have you done, by the way? Have you done any other stuff?
I've had a cafe before.
I have had a cafe.
But I had a cafe. Opened it up, and I probably never stepped foot in there. Probably as in Leighton Buzzard. But I had a salon incorporated in there. That was there for about 2 years.
Sweat the asset like that.
Yeah. So no, it was good. But it just I underestimated, because it was like a kids cafe. So I underestimated how long a mum wants to sit in and buy a cup of tea for for £1.90 and then sit there.
Leaving.
Yeah. So that's where the business model. That's where I underlooked that business model. Didn't work too well. But anyway. So I recently had another idea on we do kids hair. We do kids hair every day, and we service. I can't put a number on it because I'm not good at my numbers. But we service hundreds of kids, which means we service hundreds of families every week. And I'm just referring just to the Milton Keynes site, not alone the other sites. Yeah. But if we have quite a high foot traffic through the salons every week. So I'm like, especially our Milton Keynes one. We've got so much space there, and I'm like, I always toyed around with the idea of setting up a kids kind of clothing, accessory, shoe kind of concept to go with the salons, but more as an add-on, but now I'm actually looking at it from the perspective of, if we set up a kids shoe brand, maybe start with other brands to start with, but if we start with creating a kids shoe brand and then
I want to read the book,
and then ultimately the hair side of it is like an add-on to the kids shoes, if that makes sense. So we can become a place where parents come to measure kids' feet, the kids' feet, but they can also make an appointment for haircuts, or they can make an appointment for measuring feet and that's it, or they can make an appointment for haircuts. We're basically going to become hopefully a hub, for,
where does that come from? Has someone come to you, or you're like, actually, we've got kids?
No.
What else can we give them?
No, that come from me 2 weeks ago. And I've already had a meeting. About 2 weeks ago, I was literally driving to Salon, funny enough, with a slushy machine in the back, because I thought, summer, I'll put a slushy machine in the salons, for a bit for the kids, and cool down, all that sort of stuff.
I've got a client who's just rang me while we were on the show, actually, and it's taken me 10 years to get a slush machine in there.
Really?
And I said, can I borrow it for my wife's party? He's like, no, we're busy.
I
said, I've been telling you for 10 years.
So
that's a winner, because as soon as the kid sees it.
I thought, because I had the opportunity to get one. I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll put it in the salon. And it's got me thinking, why have I not done more with the salon? Why have I not, maximised the space? We've got a room in there that's like,
I think I've seen it. It's like a little bit like this.
3 times the size of this probably.
That's
and
bigger,
it's
okay.
And I'm like, we've never used it. So I'm like, so what, we're going to kind of look at pushing the salon to the back, bringing the kids' shoe shop / kind of accessory shop out the front, and then obviously make it a bit more of a hub for.
So I've got a friend. There's always a reason why things happen. His name's Bodie. He worked for the largest shoe manufacturer in China.
Okay, yeah.
So if you think UK, think of the size of China.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Then he got headhunted to work for the second largest manufacturer. So hang on, how have you helped them do that? And he won awards and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you go into his office at his house, which I was there last week, he's got like a whole back wall of designs, and he's designed, the Tesla Jeep.
Yeah.
He's got a shoe that's like Tesla Jeep.
Oh, really?
No,
wow.
it's just a mock.
Yeah, of course.
But he's the guy. I'm going to introduce you to Bodie. Because you just don't know what's going to come back.
You never know. Yeah.
He's an agency. He does all the design. He worked for Puma, Reebok. Nike. He's worked for all the big boys.
Yeah.
What's your model? Because what I love about this show is you got to start somewhere, and what you're doing is you've got an audience that come through your building.
Yeah.
And there'll be an average per head. Let's say it's 12 quid. It's probably 10, 12 quid.
Yeah.
There's sweets in there, 'cause I've seen the sweets, there's little band, there's things you can buy.
Yeah.
That's working because that's your business store.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is you want to bring them products that potentially they're going to buy. Now, my first thought as an entrepreneur, I don't think I've ever called myself it, is if you have stock, you have to pay for stock. And stock sits there, and if you don't clean it, it's getting dusty. If you don't sell it, it's getting dusty.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned having your own brand. I think you said that
Yeah.
So then there's cost, right?
Yeah.
Logo.
Of course.
Design, all
of
that, and then there's the brand demand. But what are you thinking?
I'm thinking our own brand is long term because again, I'm thinking we have our site which we could easily turn to e-commerce site that we get foot traffic through booking appointments. So we get over 2,000 appointments a week probably made. So so we might as well utilize that. So I'm thinking more at the moment just becoming that we're a very not your typical children's salon. So we haven't got Peppa Pig blasters on the walls. We haven't got dinosaurs and dragons on the walls. We haven't got Peppa Pig playing on TV, because we consider everyone in the group, not just the kid. Even though the haircut's for the kid, we want to make that as fun as kind of as nice experience as possible. Yeah. But we also consider that you're bringing the kids, so you're not going to want to sit there and listen to Peppa Pig all day and sit like you feel like you're in a nursery. You want to feel like you're sitting in a modern place. So we've got a very modern kind of layout. The walls are very light grey with just some hints of like kind of powerful colours. The cars are very funky Lamborghinis, cool cars. Orange, pink and blue. There's no Peppa Pig stuck all over them, and then we've got the other side where we've got PlayStations. So that kind of introduces the older kids where they don't feel like they're, if mum brings Tom, who's 10 and Ted who's like 2, Tom's still going to feel in a good place that he's not feeling like he's getting a haircut and he's embarrassed. So,
and if he's waiting,
so that's kind of how we've always been as a salon. We want to do the same for kids shoes, basically. So we want to do the same where we create like I'm going to say like the Converse type, Van type, Crocs type, like kind of cool but funky, but for everyday people type.
So Bodie, my shoe guy, kind of shoe. I call him the shoe dog. Have you read the shoe dog?
Yeah. Funny enough, I'm actually reading it now.
I'm
listening to it now.
Yeah,
so I said earlier I don't read books or anything like that, but the only book I've actually managed to stay invested in for longer than 10 minutes is the shoe dog, and I'm
his business book, right?
Yeah,
he started from nothing and done some deals. I've never said this. First time I've said it, and I'm one of them now where the book's better than the film.
Yeah,
the film came out
I've not actually watched film.
Yeah, they've got a film now, and it's got I think Ben Affleck's in it. But I take risks.
Yeah.
Right? But my concern about your shoe thing is stock.
Yeah.
And putting loads of cash into product. And
of course.
We're all different sizes, and this is what Bodie said. He said when you do a shoe drawing, you've got to make that. But if you're size 11 or 12,
you've got to make it in.
And you're 9, 20, and you're 8, and you're 6. You've got to buy that shoe in all of those.
Yeah.
And multiples.
Yeah.
Now, what you're looking at is space.
Yeah.
What you see in a shoe shop, say up City Centre.
Yeah. They've got half
the
stock room.
Stock.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued. Now, what I would say, you mentioned e-commerce, is would someone see a shoe, go, I want that, you make an order and you order it to be delivered to their house because the risk is lower, but then are they just going to go online and try and find the same shoe?
Possibly not, because we'll have the service of probably foot measuring, that sort of thing, and possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely, there's various different ways to look at it and to model it. I think, again, I'm only in the early stages. I'm not
just
like,
chewing the facts.
Of course. But I definitely think there's, a room. I feel like we've got Clark's, and then we've got like Sports Direct, and there's nothing for kids. And I think there's a huge gap there. Unless we're going to be quite boutiquey. It's not going to be like kind of your everyday. Like obviously you go to school shoes, things like that. But we're not going to have a humongous range. Mainly probably because I'm very particular and I want things to look nice, and they don't look nice if you have a huge range.
Definitely the message. Right?
Yeah. So, but we could
school shoes.
School shoes, of course, but we can implement some form of storage underneath units and things like that. So, but like I say, we're not going to have a humongous range, especially to start with. Yeah, cool. We want to see how it goes. I'm not going to go too wild, but I do think there's a concept there that for kids, like footwear, say cool, funky, trendy, like that's not your Clark's, so 60, 70 quid, but then also not your Sports Direct, which is 14 quid. There's that little in between. I think we're like that as a salon as well. We charge £12 haircut, but if you go to London, you're looking at £25 for a kid, and a kid's salon, that is. So we kind of something for everyone, but still trendy. You won't find dinosaurs. You won't find dinosaurs on the shoes and light up shoes. There will be none of that. It'll be your everyday, like your next style type. Next clothing is cool. It's like kind of real smart.
So Nacho'd, you're going to roll it out? Is it something you think?
It's the aim, yeah. So it's the aim. We've already had 1 or 2 kind of franchise inquiries. I've got to prove that it's a financially viable concept at the moment. And that's the answer to everyone at the moment. And until I do that, there's no point even having any conversations around franchising. But that was the whole point, and that's why we've executed it the way we have from a visible perspective now, from a branding perspective. That's why we've executed it the way we have, because we need or I want to franchise at a later stage.
And is there any other crazy ideas that you see in your phone? Because I imagine your phone's got loads of titles saying. No. Other industries, other businesses that you're looking at, or is it?
No. It's not even chilling. It's I'm probably the busiest I've ever been. It's like. But no, it's just I want to really focus on Nacho'd, and obviously, again, I guess another business is the franchise side of it. So it's I might have one, but then franchising is another business in itself. So that's the next business, should we say, alongside kids shoes. But
what is, just on the last thing, when someone comes to Nacho'd, which they are going to come, which nachos would you recommend?
So we've remodeled it now, where we've got like the classic nachos, and then we've got our kind of signature ones. Personally, I wouldn't have a classic because it's just guacamole and that, and it's just like, you know, we try and make it the best guacamole and salsa you're gonna have, but it's just the norms, right? And I'm, as you can tell, I'm probably someone that don't go to the norm. So I really like we've got a hot honey version, which is like a honey butter glaze and chilies and things, and then we've got buffalo, which is very strong. So yeah, we've got a few. They're my two that I would probably recommend. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to bring Hugo to the salon again, but I want to know when the shoes are ready. So drop me a WhatsApp on that. We wish you luck. And anyone who hasn't tried Nacho'd, go and try them. They're great.
We're good. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.